In this lecture, we are going to take a look at the theta notation. If we have a function fn, then can we find a function gn such that c2gn will be the upper bound of fn and c1gn would be the lower bound of this function fn. If we think in terms of the complexity of algorithms, then fn can be thought of as the growth rate of the algorithm, where n is the input size. So in case we can find an fn which is larger than c1gn and less than c2gn for some n which is greater than equal to n naught, and c1, c2 and n naught are positive constants, then we say that fn is theta of gn. Now if fn is greater than c1gn, that means c1gn is the lower bound. In that case we say fn is omega of gn. And if fn is less than equal to cgn, then we say fn is big O of gn. And you can check my videos on big O and omega. So if both these conditions are satisfied, that means we have one common function gn which is satisfying this inequality, then we say that fn is theta of gn. So theta notation is providing an asymptotically tight bound for fn, and it can indicate the average case scenario. Let's take an example. If fn is 3n plus 2 and gn is n, we have to prove that fn is theta of gn. So the inequality that needs to be proved is c1gn is less than equal to fn is less than equal to c2gn. Dividing both sides by n, we get c1 has to be less than equal to 3 plus 2 upon n has to be less than equal to c2. First we will solve this part. c1 has to be less than equal to 3 plus 2 by n. That means c1 has to be less than whatever is the minimum value of this. And this will have a minimum value when n tends to be infinite. So 2 upon n would become 0. So the minimum value of this is 3. So we can take c1 to be 3. Now let's take a look at this part. 3 plus 2 by n has to be less than equal to c2. That means c2 has to be larger than the maximum value of this. And 2 by n can have a maximum value only when n is equal to 1. Otherwise, as n starts increasing, 2 by n would start decreasing. So the maximum value of this can be 5. So c2 is 5. So we have been able to determine a value of c1 and a value of c2, and this would be true for all n naught greater than equal to 1. And since we have found a function gn which is binding this function fn from above and below, we say fn is theta of gn. This is another function fn, which is n square by 2 minus 2n, and gn is n square. We have to prove that fn is theta of gn. Using the inequality, using the function, c1n square has to be less than equal to fn, which has to be less than equal to c2n square. c2gn, gn is n square. Dividing all sides by n square, we get this. So first we will compute this part. c1 has to be less than equal to half minus 2 by n. Let's take the value of n is equal to 1. If n is equal to 1, c1 would be equal, this would be half minus 2, which would give a negative value of c1, and c1 and c2 both have to be positive constants, so this will not work. If n is equal to 2, again c1 half minus 2 upon 2, which is 1. Again this would result in a negative value. if we keep on working on this, we will get a value of n is equal to 5, which will be able to give us a positive value of C1. And you will see that C1 is half minus 2 by 5, and this will give us a value of C1 as 1 upon 10. Similarly, if we work this part of the inequality, half minus 2 by n has to be less than equal to C2. That means C2 has to be larger than the largest value over here. And this would be true when C2 is half. Because if n becomes infinite, then this term would become 0 and C2 can be half. Now we have to determine n naught. So if we put these values over here, 1 upon 10 has to be less than half minus 2 upon n naught has to be less than 1 upon 2. And we will work out to see that n naught has to be greater than equal to 5 for this inequality to be satisfied. So we have been able to find C1, C2 positive constants and a value of n naught which is a positive integer. And we can say that Fn is theta of Gn.